Hey YouTube, welcome to another episode of War of the Visions. So I'd like to begin this video with a story. A long time ago, I played this game with my friend, a live friend who I've been friends with since basically he was a kid. And we were playing this game which allowed us to distribute the attribute points, right? So basically, every time you level up, you can gain points in which you can distribute to either put in your HP, your attack, your intelligence, your dexterity, etc., etc. Now, he wanted to build a knight, which essentially you could say could be a tank of sorts, or it could be a damage dealer of sorts. But generally speaking, you want to distribute your points into hit points if you wanted to go with the tank route, or maybe into attack power if you wanted to go in the physical attack power route. Very rarely do we put points into intelligence, because intelligence gave the unit more magical points to spend on the skills. So he decided that he wanted to put all of his points into his intelligence. Therefore, the character can actually use all of his skills in his mind infinitely. And when he first approached me and my friend playing this game together with him, he said, I want to make sure that my unit can run around and do his skills infinitely. And of course, my other friend and I, we both kind of laughed at him. We were like, what are you talking about? That's insanity. Why would you make your unit into that way? Because it doesn't make any sense. Everybody, almost everybody, has a capability or should be doing the idea of putting into hit points and putting into physical attack power and even agility to give him more dodge. And of course, he ended up doing it. And what is the point, you ask? And what is the moral of the story? Well, you're about to find out in this episode of Friday Free Thinking. The point of this episode is going to be called Customization and Flexibility. Now, I mentioned before that a lot of people actually enjoyed this game because this game is very generous, right? The company is very generous in giving us gems and items and energy and materials. But the game itself is very grindy. So a lot of time you have to kind of dedicate your resources to building units, vision cards, equipment, Espers. And once you have those set, then perhaps you can move on to the next unit. Now, one thing we have to be very careful is when we're building our units and or vision cards and etc., we want to use them for specific purposes. Now, one thing I noticed about this game is that it is highly customizable, right? Much like if you're collectors of sorts, for example, people who collect automobiles, or people who collect action figures, or people who collect crafting materials, or whatever it is that you're collecting. Ultimately, we enjoy customization because customization allows us as individuals to do things that cater to our own needs, our own wants, that lead to the joy or perhaps happiness that we try to draw from these activities. In this game itself, there is a lot of flexibility. Now, obviously, some units are going to be a lot more flexible than others, and customization comes in when you decide to add what I call the Trinity or the Trifecta, which will mean vision cards, equipment, and Espers. Now, as I mentioned before, units in this game are like vessels, or say the basic model of a vehicle, right? You go to the store and you buy a Honda Civic, you get the basic model. Perhaps it doesn't come with powertrain or anti-lock brakes or dual airbags, or in this day and age, whatever the new technologies are. So you have to kind of spend more money to add more packages to, so to speak, customize your vehicle. Some people take an extra step further. They maybe buy, different rims. They buy aftermarket exhausts or nitro to put into their engine to give themselves a boost when they want to race their buddies on the streets. Whatever the case is, ultimately, the units that you end up getting are going to be exactly the same as your colleagues or me or any other content creator or anybody who plays this game, actually. Essentially, what that means is when you decide to limit break a unit and fully awaken a unit all the way to max, and all of your points in terms of your statistics are going to be the same. And once you unlock every single ability in the game and you max out all those abilities, you increase the bravery and the faith as you see fit. Basically, everyone's will be the same. Now, we start talking about customization once we start getting into perhaps beginning with bravery and faith. Some people obviously know that you should be ideally increasing bravery on every unit to level 97. And I didn't do that here, so don't kill me on that one. But in terms of faith is where you can actually start customizing your unit. Some people like faith 50, some people like 30, some people like 70, and some people like 97. It depends on the unit, obviously, and depends on your playing style. Now that we have the basic model of your vehicle set, now we can start customizing. I think the term flexibility comes in when a unit itself can be flexible in terms of build, right? For example, if you have, say, Rain, which by the way I did a review on, and I was kind of skeptical at first because I thought, well, maybe you can only build him one way as a magical tank or another way just as a fire dealer. But as turns out, you can build him however you so choose, right? The idea of the ability grid, even though it looks very simple, right? In ability set, you have 2 support skills and 1 reaction skill. But it makes a humongous difference in which sub-job you pick, what support abilities you pick, and what reactions you pick. Because ultimately, this can make a unit highly flexible. Although most likely flexibility and customization can be synonymous in certain situations, in this specific situation, when it comes to the building of a unit, definitely is somewhat synonymous. But the true definition of customization comes and shines through when you decide to equip. Perhaps you can envision of a Barbie doll, right? And you're dressing up your Barbie doll with different outfits and having different hairstyles. That's customization. And you can also actually say that's also flexibility because you're trying to cater to a specific situation, like maybe prom or going out to the clubs or just having a casual dinner with Ken. Unfortunately, customization is very limited when it comes to equipment because we all know when you click on an actual item, there are conditions to equip. For example, only a few jobs in this game can actually equip a bow. So there's not a whole lot of customization there. The only customization you have, unfortunately, is really what rarity of a weapon you want to equip on your unit. Same thing with clothing and same thing with accessories. Trustmasters is a little bit less limiting in that sense, but it still narrows down to either a weapon, an accessory, or an armor piece. The good news is you can actually equip multiple pieces of accessories if you don't want to equip any armor or any weapons. Now, the true customization comes in is how you want to amplify skills, if you will. And vision cards is basically that, and it suits the needs that you want. For example, if you wanted to make sure all of your magical units have extra magical attack power, obviously you most likely choose remove. But the thing is, bestowed effect also comes into play. For example, maybe in the future we'll get another card that adds magical power up for your party, but has a different bestow effect. Therefore, that customization is starting to shine through. When it comes to flexibility, I feel like this game is very well designed, right? We have cards that are actually designed to counter something very, very specific and perhaps very, very unique to a specific encounter. For example, let's say we deal with an encounter, which we have before, in which a lot of the enemy units likes to petrify you. Petrify is one of the strongest debuff in the game because essentially it's a one-shot KO. Once you turn into stone, you are removed from the game essentially until you are either rid of the petrify or the game is over itself. This card allows you to deal with petrify by increasing resistance up to 25% when maxed. Hopefully one day they will give us a card that allows us to give petrify resistance for the party ability, because I love status ailments and I love to deal with status ailments. There are some limitations in customization, sort of, because ultimately if you give unit cards that increase their physical attack power up, even though it affects magical dealers as well, it may not be ideal. But that's kind of the whole point of the game, isn't it? You're allowed to do whatever it is that you want. Granted, as long as you're not involved in some sort of multi-play, where people are very picky about vision cards and things of that nature, you can most likely do whatever you want. Did you feel like making sure you want to go out and equip all of your magical users with melee weapons and then increase all their physical attack power just to see how long it takes you to beat a stage? You could do it, because why not, right? Because this game allows you to do just that. One of the beautiful things about a strategy game is, especially this type of game where it's based off of Final Fantasy Tactics, which by the way I fell in love with, is the customization and is the flexibility of the game design. The last part I really want to talk about obviously is Esper, finishing up the Trinity/Trifecta. Here is another source of ingenuity in terms of design. The producers/designers also wanted to create a grid system in which you can actually customize to your choosing and your liking how you want your unit to be. Are you really fearing some missiles against specific map or an arena? Boom, equip a free card, slap some of these missile resistance grid, bam, you're good to go. Are you really hating that stage in perhaps Porcelain Tower where there are just tons of water units? Spend some gems perhaps to reset your board and boom, voila, you got water resistance. Now obviously that's definitely could fall in terms of flexibility, but it also can fall in terms of obviously customization. And ultimately, like I said before, most of the situations in this game you can interchange those two words. This game is wonderful. This game is appealing. And for those of you who love this game for different reasons, check out my last video on Friday Free Thinking, where I go back in time and talk about nostalgia as the major driving force of this game. Now let's end this video by telling you how that story ended up with my friend. He did end up building that unit all the way to max with a 99 intelligence build. Subsequently farmed all these different equipment to add more intelligence. And during the time, he actually took that unit for a spin when he actually finished maxing it and just ran around and just spammed his skill to his heart's delight. And ultimately, it gave him joy. It made him enjoy the game the way he wanted. And I think that's the lesson of the day, or perhaps a lesson of 2020. Enjoy War of the Visions the way you want it. Enjoy the diversity of units, the diversity of equipment, the diversity of vision cards, and of course the lovely Espers. Ultimately, play the game how you see fit. Customization or flexibility are a key part of this game, and I think is what's going to propel this game to be a successful game into 2021 and hopefully beyond. That's all the time for this video. I hope this gave you a little bit more perspective on how to think about this game. And perhaps you have ideas brewing in your brain and thinking outside of the box. Come join the Discord channel, Thick Thighs Saves Lives, where the invitation is located in the description section below. Have a great weekend. Until next time, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nashtaters and his family out of here. Peace out.